Hey, Emily, I met you. I was so impressed by you. You were one of the recipients at the Scene Magazine Award.
Yeah, that was in the
They had written
spring.
an article about you. hmm And I just remember you talking up there about the documentary you were part of, Fair Play. You kept using language like invisible labor and she fault and all these things. And I'm like, yes, this woman is talking my language. Why isn't she in a bigger audience, like bigger podium, saying this thing so much louder? Can you tell me a little bit about what you do and what you stand for and what you believe in?
Sure. Gosh, that's so nice of you to say. And Mick, thank you for connecting because I've been nothing but blown away by what you've built at the Kindling Project. And I've been gobbling up your podcast, listening to you and Mel. And so everything you ladies are up to totally resonates in my world. And I just appreciate that a couple of those words, invisible labor and she fault, happen to connect us. But really, fair play is just a part of, I guess, my persona. I am not Eve Rodsky, so it is not my brainchild, but I am someone who, like
Mhm.
millions of other women, live the domestic imbalance of labor and realized after a while that I didn't know how my husband and I got there, and I didn't realize just how much it was impacting me professionally. So I felt like, if we're not all together personally, if we don't have all of our systems and ducks in a row, if we don't have that figured out, that's okay. But I'll be able to still be my best self at work and realize that I was at my max bandwidth at home and it was really impacting my ability to make the contributions to the world that I wanted to. So long-winded way of saying that fair play is certainly a part of my persona, but it is just something that has helped me be better professionally.
That's great. And you started, I mean, knowing this about yourself, you have now two girls,
I
correct?
do.
Two
I have two
daughters?
daughters. Yep.
And so tell me, give me a little bit of a background. So you were a career woman, you had children, you decided to be a stay-at-home mom, and then you started your own business. How did it all work out for
Sure.
you?
So the short story, I went to school for marketing. I worked in corporate America for a little bit after college. As a 20 something, I worked in sales. I started to see other women become moms and then do the daycare drill and rinse and repeat with each child they had. And that was at least the fire that I had to decide to figure out a better way for me, a different way. And so that is what
Mm-hmm.
kicked me into starting my own business. And starting my own business meant becoming a freelance professional. So I started that in about 2009, where social media was just kind of coming out there and businesses were wondering, how can I spend some money with someone to help me instead of putting money in, the yellow pages. And that's at least the path that I took to really become an entrepreneur. And I pause on the word entrepreneur because I find so many women in our spaces, we don't identify as entrepreneurs, which is silly.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, that's how this all began.
And now you've moved away from actually being an agency, and now you are actually, how would you define your business? You actually provide workshops and education, if you will,
Yeah. So Hey,
upskilling.
yes, that's part of it for sure. Hey There Social Media is a company that empowers social media managers to thrive. So what we mean by that is we offer community and we offer connection and we offer credibility through courses, through ongoing upskilling programs, and through the power of community, which I know that you and Mel know so much about. And that's why I'm excited to be surrounded by members of our community here today on this interview. But yes, I took 10 years of agency life and evolved to be a company that serves social media managers since I was one myself. And there's so much opportunity out there for people in this very in-demand space. And it is an entrepreneurial path. And it does check a lot of boxes that women need, like flexibility and fulfillment. So
Mhm.
that's at least what pivoted the company from agency to more of a company serving social media managers.
Okay, well, I think this is a perfect transition, Emily, to introduce some of your team members here. Why don't you do the honors and introduce everyone who else, who we've got on the podcast today?
Sure. So again, thank you for thinking outside the box with me on this, Mick. I'm so excited that this format worked. And so I am in the room, not only with you, but with three amazing women that I had the privilege of meeting through social media training programs. So I've got Kimberly Herman, Nicole Kukab, and Amanda Lynch. Gosh, we're couple cities apart, and I'll let each person tell their story. But as I said, I've met each of them at different points over the last couple of years. They each went through our training program, but I will speak for all of them and say they were very accomplished professionals before they ever met Hey There. We just had the privilege to maybe polish a little bit and be able to offer that group community support that has really just allowed them each to thrive in such different ways. So every day I'm in awe with what they've done, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
thrilled with the inspiration that they continue to bring to their peers in the community.
I love that you've built this community for women. I think for stay-at-home moms in particular, we all go through this moment of like just feeling maybe a little lost. Like, where's our identity? Knowing that so much of it is tied to loving being mama bears, but also wanting to still do something, keep our toes something else in something. So, okay, without further ado, Kimberly, hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Tell us about you, Kimberly.
So I met Emily back in, 2020, the end of 2020. And we kind of hooked up through a mutual friend that we have in Michigan. I lived in Michigan for 5 years. And then, I went through her training and became a social media manager. In a previous life, I was a dental assistant and stay-at-home mom, and kind of just wondering, what's next? What do I do in my next act, or third act even? And my girls are kind of bigger now, so they don't need me as much. They still need me, but not as much.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through Emily's training, and now 3.5 years in, I consider myself a social media manager / podcast producer. That's kind of where I found my niche.
Awesome.
And I'm here with you today.
Wonderful, Kimberly. Now, how many kids do you have? How old are
Three,
they?
three girls, 13, 11, and 9.
Okay, but you're still sort of in the woods.
We're still sort of in there,
I
but
feel like you're still in it.
It's nice because it's flexible. So, I can do the morning drop off, and I can do the afternoon pickup and still be there for the day to day. And I kind of work my schedule around all of their activities.
Okay, yeah. I feel like the cusp. You're just hitting teenage years. Like I know so many of my friends. They looked at me when they had the daughters going through teen. Like, oh my God, no one really prepared me for this moment. How could I love a person so much and not like them at the same time?
Oh, yes, we feel that on the daily
Uh,
here.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you're me. Okay, well, let's
Oh,
fix that. you
okay,
know.
exactly. Okay. So now, how about you, Nicole? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rose. I have a similar story. Emily and I are celebrating, I think, just over a year of knowing each other. It's our year anniversary last fall. I found her in the Hey There program. I am also a stay-at-home mom, 3 kiddos, and I've done 100. I feel like I've lived 100 lives at this point
Okay.
in my life. I started out in business consulting, and then became a mom, stayed at home with my kids primarily, and then really when social media started, kind of got into the influencing space, pursued creative side, and did personal styling, which I absolutely love. I feel like my base hobby is fashion, and it threads its way into everything. And then I found Hey There, and I was really able. I had always kind of felt like I had a professional hole that I was trying to fill that I couldn't really make work with my family situation. So we tied it all together. I feel like Hey There said, look, this is the path, and just, find your way. But until that point, I hadn't been able to really put the pieces all together. So I feel like it just kind of clicked, and it's been great. I've been working now just under a year, like I said, with a variety of clients, like all over the map, from authors to a youth soccer club. And so the work is varied. It's still very creative, which is kind of my wheelhouse. I love the content creation piece. And yeah, I get to meet a lot of people. I'm still there for my family, which is really also very busy. My kids are 16, 13, and 11. So my 16-year-old, though, just got her driver's license, which has been life altering,
Yes.
because now I do have a little bit of more time back, which is lovely. So yeah,
It's
it's been fun.
It's amazing when they start driving, isn't it, Nicole? It's like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh. Like,
It's
I mean, I
crazy.
loved being an Uber driver for all those years. Really was for now for my private, clients, my 2 boys, but it is sort of nice to let them go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it opens up, it really has opened up a lot of time for me, which is nice. And it just kind of helps me drive forward with what I'm doing professionally, because I can see the writing on the wall, like having her go through that next step of independence. And I'm like, okay, my husband's not going to retire for 20 more years, and these kids are all going to be fully independent by then. And what am I going to do? And I feel like that's a huge message I want to just tell the world too, is that people in my particular age group and situation, I still feel like I have a lot left to do professionally. I feel like I don't know what I would do if I was like, oh, okay, my kids are grown, like out of the house, and I'm just going to be done. I feel like there's just a lot of time left to work. So.
Oh yeah, well, that's what we talk about the Kindling Project all the time. There's always time to pivot. There's always more, and that's what we want to encourage women to. There's a fire in all of us, and we should really work really hard to make sure we're stoking that fire, because our voices matter. We all have magic. We all have something very special. We all have a purpose, and we need to use that gift. Now, Nicole, interesting for you though, with a 16-year-old, you have like an in-house guru when it comes to social media and all things trending.
She's amazing. Actually,
so helpful.
She does help me from time to time. I talk about one of my author clients with her all the time, because I'm running that TikTok account, and she's great. And I did have her, I call her my intern. And she earns things. So I'll be like, if you give me the top 10 trending audio on TikTok for this week, then you can, whatever, I will buy you a new lip gloss.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
That is the best, the best.
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, Amanda Lynch. Hello. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I, like the other girls, met Emily through a mutual friend as well. I've been with Hey There Social Media for a year and a half now. And prior to that, I was a stay-at-home mom. I have a 12-year-old boy, which is frightening to think that he's already 12. Time flies. And before that, I developed a lifestyle brand through Instagram, and I was working on that. And so many family members and friends used to say to me, I need to pick your brain on social media. Can you please help me? Can you please help me? So I was thinking, there is definitely a business in this, and I was trying to do it myself. And one of my mutual friends said, you should talk to Emily from Hey There. And within minutes, I talked to her, signed up for her course. It's a fantastic course, such a great community as well. And it just gave me the confidence to start my business and hit the ground running with my social media clients. And I specialize on social media management and also the strategy side of things as well.
Okay. So Amanda, so many questions. This is a problem I'm going to have, Emily, because this is how I'm such a curious. I could spend hours with each one of you.
Totally. And I'm going to also pull stuff out of each of them too, but go ahead, Mick.
Please. Yeah. Everyone jump in. But Amanda, where's that accent from? I need a little more information.
You do. It is I'm originally from Ireland.
Oh, what part?
I was born in Galway, the West Coast, but I grew up in a small town in the exact center of Ireland called Athlone.
Wow. Well, you sound, I think people with accents are just the best. They're elevated in my eyes automatically. Okay. So now, ladies, all of you decided, it sounds like you all got connected through Emily, through a friend. So Emily, you obviously have good friends.
I do. Yes.
Who speak highly of you. That's wonderful. And now you decided to do this. You jumped in, you were all pivoting. You all have a different story. And I know flexibility, I keep hearing flexibility in all of your tones and all of your messaging, but ultimately, where were you in your head when I really want to talk about that moment when you're struggling between wanting to be everything and all things to your spouses, to your children, but also wanting to have that for something else for yourselves, your own identity. How do you balance it? How do you reconcile it? And how do you manage with that?
I'm so excited for us to talk about that. One thing I will say, just as we as we round out, hearing from Kimberly, Nicole, and Amanda, that with my like zoomed out view that these women all have in common, we talk about, saying yes without all the answers. And I think that is so hard for women to do. So you are literally surrounded by women that were willing to say, I don't have all the answers, but I'm still willing to move forward. I'm still willing to bet on myself, whether that means investing in a training or just having the confidence to learn something different. It doesn't even have to be, it doesn't even have to be an investment in training. It can be just telling yourself, I can do something. I might need a little help to get there. But so I just want to point out that that's something too, that I take such encouragement from the Kindling Project with your message to women, that it's normal to not have all the answers, and it's okay if it's a little hard, but you still got to move forward. So I see Kimberly, Nicole, and Amanda doing that every single day, and there's parts of their work, their journey over the last couple of years with the work that they do that continues to show me that you get braver and you get better at it. So I don't know where to park that right now, Mick, but had to be said.
I love it. Thank you, Emily.
Of course. So your question,
go ahead,
Nicole.
Go ahead,
Sure.
Nicole.
No, I think back to your question, your original question, Mick, I feel like I just knew that I had to do something. And so I was like, well, I'll just fit it in, in a busy household with lots of kids. I was like, you know what, my need is a priority too. So I need to just fit it in and do what I can do when I can do it. And so and I feel like with what Emily was just saying, every little step, I was like, I'm just going to do this step. And if it's too much, then I don't have to do anything else. Like, I'm just going to take this course and we're going to see where it's going to go. And then naturally there's a husband on the other side. And I'm like, well, now I'll just take this course and then just make sure I recoup the funds from the course. So that was like the first step. Like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to recoup this money. And then I'm just maybe not ever going to do anything again. And it'll be just a great little educational experience for me. But then one thing, like once you get the momentum going and one thing leads to another and you find that there is time and you can make accommodations in other areas, I think it's a constantly evolving process. But I think just saying to what Emily's saying yes the first time and just breaking it down into one step versus, okay, I'm going to start a whole career and I'm going to build a business and it's going to look like this. It was much less daunting.
But Kimberly, did you ever have any doubts, or did you, one of the things that I'm always blown away by is when we survey our audience or our community, that 57%, give or take, of women, the reason that they hold back from pursuing something new is because they, what I like to say is, self gets in the way. Self-confidence, self-worth, self-love, you name it. It's all under the self. So if you think about it, over half of women do not pursue something new, and the only person getting in their way is themselves, which makes me so sad.
Yeah, when I first started this whole thing, I really felt like, oh, maybe I can't do this. There was a big part of me that was like, I want to do this, but maybe I can't, and it took a lot of just being within to know that I could do it. Just really contemplating, okay, I'm just going to take one step at a time. Like Nicole was saying, I'm just going to take one step at a time. And I remember my very first client, Emily referred me to them. Do you remember this, Emily? Ample Slime.
Oh, sure. The slime company.
It was a slime company. Their kids were doing it. And I was like, how am I going to market slime? I mean, it was all the rage and it was a big thing, but it was just like, they're kids that are trying to sell it. And I just remember, okay, I'm just going to take it one step at a time. I'm going to get the account, and then I'm going to figure out social media for a week, and then I'm going to figure it out for the next week. And you just kind of build upon it instead of taking all big chunks all at once. You have to take little bites. And I think that taking the little bites really helps build your confidence over time. If you can do one thing at a time, one step at a time, build that confidence, and then you build upon it every time you do something new.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Amanda, it sounds like you already had the confidence because you were doing this sort of on the side for your friends and people. Did you have any internal barriers to overcome?
I love your idea of self. I'm like, I self every day, self-doubt, everything. But I had the confidence in the social media aspect. It was background, where I was most nervous about was actually selling to clients, selling myself and my services. And that's where I feel like the community at Hey There Social Media was unbelievable. At just that sense of community was amazing, and just everyone talking to each other on a weekly basis, saying, you've got this. Or we have a forum whereby if someone has a question, I mean, the two that are most helpful are Kimberly and Nicole and Emily. Like, they're always chiming in, helping you out. And it's like, hey, I'm stuck. Can someone help me? And it's been wonderful in that sense.
Yeah. So Emily, as you're building this community of women, right? It's all women?
We're all women.
Okay. So you're building this community, and you guys do you have cohorts within the community based on the industry, or is everyone in it as just a sisterhood of helping each other?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's two parts of it. The one part is just the formality of when one goes through the training. I mean, we've tried different models. You know, we've done cohorts, and then we currently do an ongoing, like, roll in at any time. So that might have naturally put people like Kimberly in like a cohort a couple of years ago. But gosh, I think, Nicole, when you and I worked together, that was a kind of a quiet quarter, and it might have been just you and I for a little bit. So that probably didn't connect you necessarily with peers right away. But in the community, we really just say, if you have the common denominator of working in social media, whether that's your full-time business or you're working for a company, but that's where that camaraderie, and just like anything, when you surround yourself with people that you can ask when you're stuck, it not only is that important, but when it's people you trust, because let's face it, like, there's LinkedIn groups, there's Facebook groups, there's people you can ask out in the virtual world. But when you feel like you're at a similar stage and phase and industry, really, I think that really makes a huge difference. I mean, I literally am looking at all three gals and thinking of things that I have taken away from them. And, if I sit here and say, like, oh, I've done this for 10 years and I know all the things, I literally go to the community myself and learn things. Gosh, even most recently, Amanda, you're talking about charging deposits when your work schedule gets too busy, like, to make sure that people are serious, like charging them a deposit. Kimberly, like, taking on podcast production. I would have said, oh, that's outside of the social media swim lane. Like, I don't really think that's possible, but you made that work. Yeah. And then Nicole, I remember, of course we talk about doing ads, but I had never done Facebook ads for a youth sports organization. And you were like, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. The client had the need, and you ended up with this beautiful result. So, and I learned from you from there as well.
That's awesome. I love that each one of you is defining your own niche too in the market, which is so important to do, because it is a crowded space. And now, where Emily, where you started, maybe it was such a need for someone to take the lead. Now it seems to me like there's a lot of social media podcasters. I mean, I think there's, by the way, 5 million podcasts right now. I mean, it's just a very, 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 crowded space. So how you define that, how you differentiate is so important. I love that this community you're building is, though, it's one where you're leaning on each other without any sort of sense of, or more so with the mindset of abundance. Like, there's enough to go around. We can all work with each other and help each other out. How does that work, ladies? In the real world, ladies, maybe you can share this, Nicole, Amanda, Kimberly, have you ever felt that maybe women weren't backing you up? And in this community, you feel like they are actually 100% behind your back?
Yeah, I can recall, like, when I used to work in the dental office, it was a very, shall I say, catty environment. Women were very against each other, even though we were all sort of doing the same job. And, I kind of felt like that might happen with Hey There, joining the community. But then once you're inside it, you realize it's beautiful, and everybody kind of just comes together and they share their own opinions, but nobody's upset with anyone else. And we just kind of, talk about things that are pertinent to social media and other problems we might be having, but everybody is allowed to share their own view and what worked for them without it being overpowering from, no, I have to do it this way, or getting mad at someone for doing something that we're all trying to strive for and all trying to do in our business lives.
Yeah, Emily, what are your thoughts on this in general? Like, I find in community, we talk about building so much. A lot of times not only do we get in our own ways to our dreams, sometimes our own other women find it's very difficult sometimes. Not everyone is of the abundance and the stage is big enough for all of us mindset. Do you ever come across that? Oh, where'd she go?
I don't know.
She'll have to call back. Okay, so Amanda, do you have a thought on that?
I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
That's okay. No worries. No worries. We're just talking about women in general. I love it when I see like the three of you, or even with Emily, four of you, just really coming together and helping each other. I think I'm of that mindset. I love that mindset. We can all help each other's abundance. It always disappoints me when I see that some women aren't that way. I'm just wondering if you find that in your.
I actually was very surprised when I joined Hey There Social Media at how women were so willing to go above and beyond and step outside and really help each other. As I mentioned, Kimberly and Nicole have been there time and time again for me. So even Nicole last week got on FaceTime and she helped me walk through a problem, and it's just been fantastic. And it's amazing how when you work with various clients, how you find what you're passionate about. And then we actually have a job board going, and it's very interesting. Sometimes you'll see certain clients and you'll think of, oh, that would be great for Kimberly, or that would be great for Nicole. You don't just automatically think, I want to go do this, because you know where your expertise lies or what you're passionate about. And it's amazing how you develop that as like, I'm doing this now a year and a half, and there's certain clients I look at and I go, no thanks, but Nicole would be great at that, or whatever. So I love that aspect of it too.
That's great. And now, Nicole, how do you balance it all in your world?
Well, every day is a little different. I think a lot of times it's sort of my personality to just barrel through life. So I feel like that I just kind of treat this the same way. Like it just got added onto the to-do list, and at different times it takes precedence over other things. But I do think really knowing what time frames, which areas of your life like need you. Like every morning I work out for, at 6:00. And then I have this sort of open time, and maybe work needs to go into that time, or maybe the kids need a little extra help in the morning or whatever, wherever you can fit it. I have identified that, I'm most creative in the early morning or later at night. So working around that. But I do think, not to just jump around, but to the last conversation, I feel like it has just been so refreshing to be in this group of women from day one. When I was contemplating if the course was right for me, I was referred to Amanda, who I didn't know, had never met. And she was literally from the onset, the first person I spoke to, leaned on for support, asked, because she had just completed the course. And I just feel like the whole community is built that way. Like if you can help, you do. And it's so nice to be a part of that, because it really makes you feel like everybody is, at a different point in their journey, but to have the support is really. And it's not even when you talk about balance, you can be like, hey, how do you guys manage this? Like, how do you take 3 hours off for a field trip in the afternoon? Or how do you plan for a vacation? That's a really big one. Like social media doesn't sleep. So to be gone it takes some planning. And I think it's just nice to have people that have done it and people that can help you through it.
Absolutely. Emily, and when you're not recruiting sounds terrible. That's not the right word. But when women are interested in your programming, are you able to tell right away, like, okay, these superstars we have on today versus women who are just sort of all over the place, not knowing what they want, trying every program out there?
I feel, again, that's a really deep question, Mick. I feel like there is definitely common denominators, and some of those things are the things you can't teach. Like you can answer questions like, what kind of clients will need me? How much can I charge? How will this look from the nuts and bolts? But I can't rewire an operating system. And that's what speaks clear to me when I first get to chat with women that are considering, adding social media management as an upskill or a complete career pivot or anything. Yeah, that's certainly something I can tell. And so that's why I get super excited that, like attracts like. And hey, if you're not certain at the moment, it can also just be a timing thing. No matter what you choose to do, we all know that there's timing, and timing's never perfect. But if you really are feeling like you are talking yourself out of something, then maybe it's just not the right time. Give it a little bit of time.
Okay. So ladies, for all parents here, here's my question for you. Social media. It's amazing, also terrible in many ways, where it's weaponized, as we know. And I'm not here to paint a negative light on it. But as parents, as mamas, how do we navigate that conversation with our children? This is something now you're building a business on, but it's also something that can be weaponized with our children or with adults too, as you know, with the comparison lane, the me too, the who there's, and always trying to get some sort of likes. It's all about likes and followers. What kind of conversations are you having with your children about this?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not even going to make light of such a serious question, but I'm just chuckling because when you said it's all about likes and followers, I'm like, I tell them it's the same thing I tell my clients. You have to build a brand. It's not about likes and followers. But I would not tell my children that. Actually.
Oh, no, but I appreciate that answer, actually, because that means something.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, I feel like with my own children specifically, I feel like you have to make them aware of the dangers, of the things to look out for. With my kids, my philosophy across all dangerous areas of life is that I have to feel like I can trust them and that they're talking to me. And as long as they're talking to me or coming to me like, hey, mom, this looks weird. Hey, somebody posted this. This is making me uncomfortable. I don't know. It goes back to my relationship with my kids, in all honesty, in all areas of life, not just social media. But if I feel like if you know your kids and you trust them and you see like something's going awry, you'll see that. I mean, you'll catch it, hopefully.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, as the queen of all tools, I use an app called Bark. It helps kind of navigate your kids' social media. And so that way you don't have to harp on them all of the time about your usage and, who you're interacting with. You can kind of see it on that app, which I think is a great way to introduce one app at a time. I recently told my daughter she cannot have TikTok until the end of school year because it really messes up their brains so badly. And without it, she's actually been okay. She's been kind of a nice kid recently. So
I do second that, Kimberly. Wait as long as you can. Yes. I would say that we tried really hard to push off for as long as possible on all of the platforms.
Yes. There's no escaping it, though. It is part of life, and it's going to continue to be part of life. It's just how you approach it in a way that is sustainable for your family, and your family is going to approach it in the way that makes sense for you, and it may not make sense for another family and another household and another parent. It just has to make sense to you. I think that's all I'm going to say for that.
I'm curious. No, that's awesome. I'm curious what Amanda's life with the 12-year-old boy is like.
We're late bloomers in our house, very late bloomers. He just got a phone this past summer and he is not allowed on social media. Well, he looks up YouTube to watch sports videos, but that's about it. However, one of my friends did recently say, that's really how they're communicating with each other nowadays, to meet up and things like that. So he may be missing out on the meetups at the park and uptown and all of that. But he hasn't asked for it. I know it's coming. So I am going to delay as much as possible because I don't know. It's a scary world out there.
We did also link our social media usage to performance in school, and maybe that makes me like super crazy mom, but they had to earn, like, you had to get all A's for a semester or whatever before you could get access to such and such a platform. If you don't maintain that grade point, it can get taken away. So it's not just a given that you get to be on it. I feel like I need to keep my kids reminded of that.
Right.
And delay Snapchat for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks. That's a good tip. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
As long as possible. I think that might be one of the worst ones that I've come across. And that's speaking as a, social media manager.
Right. I just think, going back to your point, Nicole, about you're developing a brand, it is terrifying to actually think that no matter what they do at 11, 12 years of age, it's there. It's out in the media when they decide what career they're doing. It can be searched. And that's the most terrifying thing for me. I'm like, thank goodness it wasn't around when we were in college.
Right? I know the pressure.
Right?
I feel like the pressure it puts on kids nowadays is just heartbreaking. Like to have every action potentially tracked it's more than I would have ever wanted to deal with.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, I guess I just tried it. Mine are on the younger end, 9 and 7, but I try to do the things that I wouldn't want to yell at them for later. And I guess my definition of that is literally just not having my nose in my phone and like if they need my attention, as hard as it is, because I want to multitask, I put the phone down and I look at them, things like that. So then that way, when they're old enough to have their phones, and I can hopefully say to myself, I've modeled good digital hygiene. But I also just think it's, yes, social media is complicated, but from a work standpoint, I try to look at what we do as, TVs have been around and people, worked in television, and we always knew, like, you can't let your kid watch too much TV. I know I'm oversimplifying, but I use that as like a guardrail professionally that yes, mom works in social media, but I do this work for businesses. My nose isn't in my phone posting my lunch or sharing my bedroom. I'm doing things for businesses. It happens to be on Instagram, not NBC. It probably goes well above my kids' heads, but just explaining that the time I spend on social media is not me sharing my life. It's me working for a business.
I love that idea, Emily. I have recently, especially in the past, say, 6 months, the end of last year, beginning of this year, when my son walks in the door at 3:30 every afternoon, I'm like, phone down. This is my time. I got to soak this up, hear the day. And I'm generally in the kitchen, and I've kind of taken a little bit of a mind shift in the sense, okay, that's my time to prep dinner. So I'm doing stuff in the kitchen, but I'm listening to him, and he doesn't see me on the phone. It's been working well. And I feel like I am present with him as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So important. I know I just heard Matthew McConaughey, I guess, talking about this a lot. Social media, his son. I don't know. Did you girls hear any of this conversation? So he's got a 15-year-old son, and he just got a phone. And I guess in the world of celebrity, that's like he's broken every law, right? But he's very proud of this, and his wife, and I can see why. I forget his wife's name. What is her name? She's beautiful.
Camilla, something like
Camilla,
that.
yeah, she is gorgeous. So they were saying, no, trying to teach him, like, okay, here's your phone. Yes, here's the social media, but post if you have been living and doing something of interest, then post. But don't post to be interesting to others by someone else wanting to find you interesting. Only post, you control the narrative. You post what's interesting and what you have been doing worth sharing. And I thought that was a really kind of a good way to look at it versus so many, I think, younger people. I'm guilty with my 2 boys. They're 18 and 20, so they're older than you guys. Through the whole phase of, that coming of age, of wanting to impress others by the amounts of whatever is happening out there. And it just, I remember we had some real scream matches in our home because somehow they missed that memo on no, that's social media is not for that. It was meant to be, talk about community, right? Social media was meant for people to come together. Facebook was for us to connect and celebrate each other and like, oh, look who just sort of connected with old friends. And somehow it's, to your point, Emily, it's turned into this sometimes negative thing, but it doesn't have to be if you stay to the positive. So tell me, ladies, what do you love most about social media in your business? And tell me about some of your wins with your clients.
I could literally speak for all 3 of you, so someone better jump in.
I think my biggest win is with my longest client. Is I started out as her social media manager, and slowly over time kind of expanded into her, I will say, operations manager. I run her podcast, I run her back end, I run pretty much everything for her business. So, if you send us an email, it's me who gets it. I answer it. And I feel like that's my biggest win, is just taking it from, a monthly social media retainer to running almost her entire business. So I think that's my biggest win.
That's
And
unbelievable.
Kimberly,
That's amazing, Kimberly.
it is amazing. Kimberly, you spoke at her conference. I remember that. Like, I was like,
Yes,
Kimberly
2
has a
years in a row.
client that invited her to speak at a conference. Tell us that.
Yes, yeah. So my client, she is a professional organizer, and she has what she calls a partner program of other professional organizers that are around the country, and they get together once a year for a retreat. And we went to 2 years ago. We went to Austin. This last year, we were in Scottsdale, Arizona. And, spoke about social media to these professional organizers. And actually, I've gotten a couple clients from doing that. So it's, just elevates my business a little bit. But it's a good thing. It's another win.
I love it.
That's
I
perfect.
feel like if someone would have said, will you also sign up to be a professional speaker? Most people might have been like, no, not my thing. But like, it organically happened and you followed the breadcrumbs, and look what it did.
Yeah, step by step, like we've been saying, you build on slowly, step by step.
How about you, Nicole? What are some of your wins?
Well, I think probably most recently my biggest win. So the youth soccer club has a travel team component, right? But this particular organization is a nonprofit organization, so they try to keep their costs down. But really, the only money they generate is from their travel program. So they really wanted to increase the number of teams they were fielding in that program last spring. And so we put together, like Emily had referred to, a whole ad campaign on Meta, and just a really targeted strategic approach socially to increase awareness about the program. And they ended up fielding the most teams they ever have. So that was amazing. Yeah.
Yay.
Really exciting. It's just exciting because I get really vested in people and things, and I just felt like theirs was such a great story to tell, and to watch it be successful was exciting. And I love video. Side note, like, what do I love about social media? I actually love video. I love making videos. I love the funny things people do with videos. I think video is really entertaining. And obviously it's always the highest trending, like furthest reaching, whatever. I think there's a reason. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but.
Well, and on that note, like you're drawn to visual clients, like clients that have something visual to tell.
Yeah.
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 How about you, Amanda?
Mine is not actually client-based. My biggest win is saying yes to this program. And that sounds cheesy and everything, but I had been thinking about this for a year and a half, 2 years, and I kept stalling, and I didn't have the self-confidence. I really wanted to develop this business. And once I met with Emily, I hit the ground running, and I haven't looked back. Yes, there's crazy times, but I absolutely love that it's basically my dream job. It's me being on social media. I get to stay at home, which I was most adamant about, staying at home and being present, being available for the 7,000 baseball games during the summer and all of that. And also, I have been able to travel whenever I want. I've gone home to Ireland a number of times in the past 2 years. Before COVID, it had been 5 years since I was home in Ireland. And then COVID hit and everything else. And now I've been home 3, if not 4 times to Ireland. And I bring my work with me. And I can just work from my parents' house. I've worked from hotels, and I just love the flexibility in it. So that's kind of my biggest win, is that I believed in myself, even though I didn't really know what was ahead of me. But yeah, I'm very excited about it.
That sounds amazing. Congratulations. I'm glad you said yes
Thank you. It's
too.
huge.
Yes.
Thank you.
And what about Emily? Do you miss the social media part of it, or are you still doing that for your own business?
Yeah, I mean, I still do it for Hey There, and we have a couple of projects and clients that come up. We do some consulting work, so that's another thing about social media is that you think like, okay, manager making the content, posting the content, but then there are companies that need your advice. They don't need you to post anything, but you can do a consulting project for them. So that's something we work on. But I couldn't be more grateful from the seat I get to sit in, from getting to meet with you and just be in this. It's such an exciting time to be a woman, looking for what's next or looking for what else. And, when you surround yourself in that community, like all is well. And so again, Kimberly, Nicole, Amanda, and the other gals that we get to work with, I personally benefit as much from working with you guys as I hope you do from working with us. So thank you.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love that oh, sorry, Kimberly, go on.
I was just going to say, yeah, saying yes is the first step, isn't it?
It's so funny that you said that, because Emily, when you said it first thing when we got on this podcast, that we were all willing to say yes, it kind of surprised me. I'm like, oh, I guess I was. That's great. So thank you for that.
For sure. No, it's been awesome. So your questions are super thoughtful, Mick, and all that you're doing to support women. And yeah, so we really appreciate that. But community, it's all about community, right? It feels like a word that's used all the time, but it does have tremendous meaning.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. What about Emily, as far as we talk about kindling projects, and that when you start dreaming and you're sort of stoking that fire, and what are you dreaming about these days now? What's next for you?
Well, I guess what I'm dreaming about is just being able to see what's ahead without being too fixed on one outcome. I guess what I mean, I love social. I love how social worked for me to start a business. I've loved watching how, Nicole, Kimberly, Amanda, other women are putting it to use, but sitting back and kind of listening and seeing like, well, what else can this become? Like, how else can we support people? And, as with a business, with a mission, whatever you do, you try to come up with language to explain what you do to the world, but then you realize it's hard to make it one thing. So, the common denominator here, you are in a room of women that all happen to be mothers, but there are other parts of our personas that are in alignment. And, so that's where Hey There is kind of leaning into this. We are a company that serves social media managers. It doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be a mom or that it's only moms. But as when we all live in this virtual work situation, it's more important than ever to be clear. And I feel like as a founder, you think you have to have it figured out and see exactly what you're working towards, or else how are you going to get there? But part of the work of being a founder is to be patient and wise enough to watch what's unfolding and don't just go the direction that you think. And so that's what I'm really trying to do when I think of, what's next for us.
Oh, patience. Let me know how that goes. That's the hardest thing to do, isn't it?
So hard.
It's so hard, but it's a really good answer and a very thoughtful answer. And I think for where you are too, for the season of your life, that's actually perfect. It's sort of reconciling for me that it doesn't have to be this or that. And for long, I feel like for women, we have to choose. You're going to be a stay-at-home mom, or you're going to be a career woman. Are you going to, eat the vanilla or the chocolate? It's always like this or that. Like, I like to be okay with the way we're doing it. Somewhere in the middle is okay with me. I have both, but I can't do it both at full capacity. I can do it with flexibility, which is what you're all saying. I can do it because I still want to be at Johnny's little game, every single game, but I also want to be something for myself and have an identity beyond. Like so many women I ask, like, what's your thing, girls? And they're like, oh, and they rattle off their children and their husbands, which is amazing because we all have that. And I say, well, I get that. Well, tell me about you. And they're like a blank scare. They forgot who they are. And so I love that you guys are spending more time with yourselves. So Nicole, what are you getting curious about? And when you're thinking future and building your fire? What does that look like?
I just think I want to do more of what I'm doing. I would like to scale my little company, I guess, Perfap Social or Perfectly Appropriate Social Media, and just keep taking on clients and seeing where this goes. And I think that's the other beautiful thing about Hey There is it really gives you an opportunity to do that. I just had a conversation with Emily the other day, like, I'm nervous, right? Like I'm only one person right now. I'm managing everything great on my own, but the bigger it gets and the more clients you bring on, the more resources you need to get that work done. And so making that next bridge, like how do you grow from one to multiple and down the road? I mean, that's another step, like baby steps, right? And so I think that's the direction I'm headed in. But I feel like I've given myself the grace to be like, okay, if you want to just think about this for 6 months, like you don't have to go out and get all the clients and just make it all happen right away. Like
Right.
let's just ease into it. So yeah, I think that's for me what's next.
How about you, Amanda?
I feel very similar. I'm at the point exactly the same. I have multiple clients and I'm getting to the point of, oh gosh, I need help in this because I would love to expand. My favorite app is Instagram. They've actually called me to be part of a research group, which was absolutely fantastic during the summer. So I definitely know that I need just a little bit of help in the background just to expand my business a little bit more and continually learning as well, because these platforms, which is great. It's great for the mind. We're constantly learning. There's constantly new things coming out and I'm just excited.
That's wonderful. I know
So
it's
cool.
really scary when you're a mompreneur and you're starting out and you know that to scale, you just need a little that extra set of hands to kind of relieve you from some admin tasks so you can get onto the job of meeting the client and closing the deal and but it's very time consuming and it's also scary to let go and add personnel.
I'm definitely at that point where it is very scary, but got to just say yes, Emily, right?
Yeah.
There you go. We got your back.
And Kimberly, sounds like you're going to venture into the podcast world more
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I've been producing a few podcasts here. I would love to do more producing. I actually really like being in that sphere. It's something that sort of just kind of took me by surprise and it came out of nowhere, but it's something that I've really adapted to. I've been to Podcast Movement, and I'm planning on going again. You just learn so much during those sessions that you don't have to Google.
That was
Right.
in Vegas? Was that in Vegas?
That was in Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been to Vegas this year. So yeah, just expanding on the podcast and just doing more of that. And also I want to kind of take a backseat of the social media and really just kind of become more client facing and let someone else take the reins of doing the day-to-day social media. And my favorite thing to say is first you build and then you stabilize, and then you build and then you stabilize. So right now I'm kind of in a point of stabilizing and then expanding.
Okay.
I love that.
I like that too.
I like that too.
Great.
Stealing it.
And
Okay, great. Steal it. Yeah, for sure.
Build and stabilize.
is.
I have heard that like when things are going well, expect something to break. Like it's
Yeah.
not a sign of something going wrong. It's just a sign of growth.
Yeah.
Exactly. And ladies, what do we think about VAs? It's such a word, the buzzword now, to hire a VA, and they're from different countries, and I mean, I've had some proposals. Well, they'll do some things for a couple bucks. It's it's very difficult to even wrap my head around that. But I understand the argument of in the other countries, that's really just an income for them. So they're very happy to take it. But how do you guys combat that? Because there is something about having people you can talk to and see and really connect with to help you with your business.
Yeah.
I have
Go ahead, Amanda.
experience on a VA. I had a client who worked with a VA from the Philippines. Exactly that. She was very open about the pennies and pounds, how much she was paying, and the VA was great. And just when I did have that mind shift of, yes, you are helping somebody else's family with employment, that's wonderful. On the other side, I have a client now based in the States, and she has actually connected with a local mom who was in her 50s. Her kids had gone on to college. She was looking for something to do, and she says she has been wonderful. So I think there's two avenues that you could look at. It's the VA from the Philippines or wherever, or somebody local that is on the ground that you can meet with as well. It's something I definitely have to start researching for myself, but I think there is definitely two markets there. Or even college kids or high school kids, especially when it comes to social media.
Yeah, I'm
sure.
jumping in. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm
Please.
only jumping in to say I actually did a TikTok live the other day just because I wanted to experiment with it. But I used TikTok
I saw
Live.
you.
Yay! Yeah, the algorithm served me.
I just happened to be on TikTok at that moment. I only popped on for a second.
We'll have to talk shop because now I've got this 30-minute like recorded TikTok live, and I'm like, so what do you do with it? Like, here I go. I need to ask my own community, like, what do we do with this live? I know what to do with the recording that you want to put on YouTube. Thank you. Thanks. But anyway, the question I was talking about was, how is a VA different from a social media manager? And I would just say plainly that a VA can be someone who covers a general range of activity that might fall in more of an administrative capacity, neither bad nor good. And a social media manager is much more specialized and dialed into that particular field. So generalist versus specialist. And I also think there's a place for the business that leverages a VA. VAs can be really great for the single shingle solopreneur, and they need a lot of things done, and social media happens to be one of them. Whereas social media manager, the group that we work with, like we work with small to medium-sized businesses, but generally the businesses are slightly larger than a solopreneur, single shingle. And then you can get into larger scopes of work, where not only have you done social media management, but to Kimberly's point, her client also, is going to have her bring in some podcast work, doing consulting. So very, very great question, Mick, to think about, VAs. I think we as business owners could leverage VAs, but I just think of it from how is a VA different from a social media manager? And there's a lot of differences.
Yeah. There is. Well said, Emily. Well said. Thank you for that. Now, ladies, I guess we should start wrapping it up here. I'm wondering what is the single best piece of advice that you would give to a woman listening to this who, if just interested in pivoting or trying something new beyond like just say yes. What is the best single piece of advice you've either received or you're willing to share with someone?
I think the best advice, I would say, being someone that, as I mentioned, jams a million things into a day, you will find the time. If it really lights you up and you're excited about it, you will find the time to do it. And being realistic about it, you may have to give up some time somewhere else because there are so many hours in a day. But you will, if you say yes and you try it and it lights you up, you will find the time to make it work. And wouldn't you rather do it than not, right? Like, I just think if you don't try it, you never know. So that would be my advice.
That's great advice.
I think it's to ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions because you might find your answer somewhere that is unexpected. Ask your friends, ask your neighbors, ask your relatives, just keep asking questions and ask questions on social media. Find a friendly face that you like and ask them questions.
Great.
That's awesome.
And I think for me, especially, and I know it's saying just do it, but I spend so much time overthinking it. And I think that's where sometimes us as women, we overthink it because it's going back to a confidence thing of, can I do it? And you try to think of the 3 to 5 years down the line. And it is a case of, yes, try it out. Like Nicole said, so what if it doesn't work out? But at least take on a couple of clients, see what you like, and you'll be so surprised. And you'll be so surprised at how many hours in the day you can actually fit it in. So.
Well said, Amanda. And I would just add, Mick, just to round it out, I said I'm working on not being rigid in how I want things to look going forward. Mm-hmm. I would tell women starting out, don't be rigid in how you define being successful, because a lot of times, no love lost to men, our partners who love us, but often men are very like, well, how much did you make from it? How much dollars and cents came in from that activity after so many days? And that kind of rigidity is really limiting at best. It's damaging at worst. But then we build up our own confidence and we say, I can build myself up. And you go out into social media and you see things like 7-figure club, 10-figure club, billion-dollar businesses. Yeah. And you're like, well, I guess I'm not successful if I'm not building a billion-dollar business. And then it's a very defeating exercise. So I would encourage any woman starting out or at any phase of her journey to not be rigid in what your version of success looks like. Run your own race.
Oh, I love that. Solid advice. So true. It's that comparison lane of always having someone else. Tell me, okay, ladies, one more question, because I heard over this weekend, I did this little workshop and the moderator asked a question. She said, if you had to write a book, what is the title of your book right now to reflect your story, where you are in life?
What was your answer?
Mine was, and then it happens. But I've known this. It's sort of like this thing of when I started saying yes to me, when I started having that growth mindset, when I decided, why not me? I'm saying, and then it happens. Everything just starts happening as it should.
Oh, I just thought of mine when you said that.
Go.
I was like, it took me a minute. If the shoe fits.
Huh. Okay.
Yes.
Like it.
So good.
I have mine.
Go for it.
Be bold graciously.
Beautiful.
Mine is listen, sometimes it whispers.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Mine's much drier, but it's the social media manager manual.
Okay. That totally works, Emily. Thank you.
Oh, so yours is nonfiction. Got it.
Yeah.
I'll stay in that genre. Yes.
That's great. So as you're circling back, Emily, how can people work with you, with people listening?
Oh, thank you. So our website, heytheresocialmedia.com, HAY. Like we said, we're building a company that serves social media managers. So whether you're new, whether you're established, whether you're aspiring, just want to know more, get some insight from women like Kimberly and Nicole and Amanda and hear all the different journeys. That's the best place to start. Head to the site.
That's awesome. And thanks, everyone. Thanks, ladies. I will be sure to add all your handles to the show notes so people can check you out, can come into your websites. If you're looking for a podcast editor and a social media gurus, we've got 3 amazing ones here. Sounds like Nicole's really doing videos, a lot of videos. So I'd love to see some of your work, Nicole. And Amanda, the whole Instagram sounds very, very interesting. So good job, you.
Thank you.
Keep lighting it up, ladies. Keep growing and pivoting and, just shining bright, because that's how you represent and your domino effect in your own families. When you start showing up for yourselves, then what I say always, policy changes, boardrooms changes, the world starts looking more like us because we're using our voices, and you 3 are certainly using your voices. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mick.
I appreciate you all. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.